And one. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world when you are checking in for this session. My name is Jessica Corbo, and I have the great pleasure of hosting a 28 session mental health extravaganza. What does that mean? It means that I asked all of my favorite bright lights, warriors, and goal crushers from around the world to share their journey. And some of them actually have mental health things that they've worked through. Some of them just, kind of were products of unfortunate situations. And each person has an unshakable truth. And that is what I'm after right now. So we are going to share behind the scenes and all the ins and outs and a little bit of tips and tricks that maybe you guys can adopt as part of your lifestyle. So with that said, my special guest today is Eryn. She is a master trainer with the Zumba family, personal trainer extraordinaire, decent human being, absolute love bug. She just taps on all things health related, and she's one of my channels of inspiration, also being a fitness instructor, and Eryn is goals. So just so you know, like that's where things are right now. And she has posted a couple of things on both depression and anxiety, which I think is very relevant for the entire community. So with that said, Eryn, thank you so much for agreeing to join us for today, and welcome. How are we?
Great. We're just great. I mean, like I said, I'm in Florida today, so it's sunny and gorgeous, and I'm happy.
Absolutely. You have to. I mean, with all that extra sunshine, you can't have a bad
Oh,
day.
yeah, you can't. You can't be. I mean, yeah, you just can't be. We got to go to the pool for a little bit today. I got to do some classes this morning. I think it's just all around, just everything. Everything is good.
I love it. I love it. It's a very good position to be in, to kind of be in that present moment where you can soak in all the magical things that are happening around you.
Yes,
So
exactly.
diving straight into it. So the first question, do we have any diagnosis for mental health ailments? And if yes,
Um,
what are they?
yes, I was diagnosed years ago with depression and anxiety. Many years ago, when I was in high school, I actually regularly saw psychiatrist, psychologist. I was admitted for a suicidal ideation, suicide attempt, and spent about a week inpatient. Yeah, so definitely have that diagnosis.
So if you had the diagnosis at a younger age, that must have been kind of difficult, because just before the call we were talking about the importance of having a strong foundation, and I totally agree. So since you were diagnosed at a younger age, what were the kind of, I guess, protocols that you had already in your life that helped you kind of navigate that?
Well, it's interesting. I think that when kids are going through their teen years, there is so much that is so uncertain. You're trying to figure out who you are, and you've got all of this pressure on you of who other people think you should be. Some teenagers are trying to figure out what they're going to do with the rest of their life, and there should just not be that pressure on teenagers. Like they're way too young. They do not need that yet. They just need to figure out who they are and who they want to be. So I think that generally there is just a lot of pressure put on teenagers, and there are a lot of teenagers that do struggle with depression and anxiety just across the board. So I was one of them, and we just I don't feel like we give appropriate resources and appropriate support for them. I think this is going to be really dorky, but there's a line from Harry Potter where Dumbledore talks about, I know, right? Dumbledore talks about the older generations they should be able to understand where the younger generations are coming from, and not put the pressure that, like, the responsibilities we have as adults, we should not be putting on kids. So expecting kids to know who they are and expecting them to act like adults, it's just not fair. It's not okay. We need to give them that space and give them that time. So I think that we just honestly fail to support our teens, our adolescents, in a way that gives them the space and the tools to say, it's okay for you to be confused right now, and I'm here to help guide you through, because we do need to give them some guides, right? We can't just let them go completely crazy. We can't just let them like do whatever they want. But we do need to give them a space to say, it is okay for you to not know. It is okay for you to make mistakes. It is okay for you to try to figure things out. And I just think that we don't do that. So I didn't really have that. I had a great family. Don't get me wrong. I had a great family. And I think that that was part of what made it difficult for me, was because I didn't feel like I had a reason to feel the way I felt.
Mhm.
I have a lot of privilege. I had a great, I had a great family growing up. I went to an okay school. No, it was a great school. It was fine. So that was part of what was hard for me, was I just didn't understand why I was feeling this way, because what it looked like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. And I feel like that just like almost,
Amplifies it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, so my parents brought me inpatient, and looking back at that, because my mom did find me, and looking back at that as an adult, I'm like, that was the worst place to be,
Yeah.
because you're with others that have the same mindset as you, it's detrimental, right? It's not constructive, it's destructive. And so putting somebody, and I understand why we have to do it, but there is a point where it's like, these are not this is not a good place for somebody dealing with depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, that's self-harming. Like, inpatient is not a place for them to go, because they have everybody there aside from staff is feeling that same way, and you're just like swapping stories, and it's like, it's just like a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely.
So I was impatient, and thankfully, like I said, I have a good family, and so they were able to come alongside me and support me, and be there for me. And it really does get to a point where, like, you have to be watched to just make sure that you're not going to do something that is going to be long term,
Yeah.
damage. So yeah, had great friends, great family that did support me in that. And eventually, faith is a huge part of my life,
Mhm.
and having the realization that that God made me as I am, and God loves me as I am,
Mhm.
was honestly where I was like,
Yeah.
like, I have value and I have worth because he decided that. I
Yeah.
don't need that from anybody else. And because
Right.
I'm still here, I still have value, I still have worth.
Absolutely.
So honestly, that was just a really big part of it for me.
Yeah. I think a lot of the times when we're dealing with invisible wounds, it's difficult to,
Yeah.
number one, quantify. And I mean, you're fitness instructors, so we have quantifiable things to hit those
Yeah.
goals, right? And
Yeah.
we can
Yeah.
see it physically in our body with it, the muscles expanding or the waist shrinking or whatever the goal is, right? And
Right.
when it
Right.
comes to the head, when it's invisible, we can't always see that. And if we can't see it and we can't quantify it, we don't have that barometer on how exactly is our health today. And
Hmm.
so I think in context of your surroundings, of having that confusion of not really thinking that it was valid to feel the certain way that you were feeling, makes it even more difficult to move through, because we all know that
Right.
you can only change things that you can accept, right?
Yeah.
So when you're
Yeah.
just like, all right, I think I need to start working out, and then you make the decision, then you move forward. But when you're just
Yeah.
like, I'm feeling something, but I don't really know what I'm feeling or how I'm feeling or why I'm feeling it, it makes it a little bit
Exactly.
tricky to kind
Yeah.
of identify it and then be able to move forward. So
Hmm.
congratulations for being able to have that mental tenacity and that resilience, even though you came from a very supportive community. And then when you were inpatient, that maybe that surroundings was very different, that would have made it a lot more challenging for you.
Yeah.
So when you were part of that, were you an athlete growing up?
I went through different phases. I did play soccer. I played basketball. I played t-ball. I danced. I was a dancer for years. So I was like always active in some way or another. So that's always been part of my life. Music has always been huge for me. I love music, and I think that's why I gravitate so much to dance and to strong, because it's so focused on the music. And I think it's just a really good tool for everybody to be able to connect. Like, you can have the same song and be across the globe. And I mean, we see that now. People are still, they all feel it. It's such a great connector.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good outlet too, because
Hmm.
I mean, when you're working out, it gets you in body. And then when you're listening to music, it gets you in body, but then it can also take you to that next level. And
Exactly.
so they're pretty healthy ways to process different things.
Yeah.
So did you have to deal with any kind of mental ailments within the family? Like, was this the first time, or were they familiar with kind of how to show support, or?
Well, I think, like, the further you go, or the farther you go back, generationally, it's just not something they dealt with.
Right.
right? So like, it was just like, no, 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 we don't talk about it. So I believe that I was really the first one to be diagnosed and it to be addressed in my family line.
Trailblazer.
I don't know
Congratulations.
that I wanted that, but that's fine. No. Yeah. So yeah, it was something that was new to my parents. They were like, what the heck? Because it's not something, yeah, it just wasn't something that they were used to dealing with. Just because their generation, the generation before, it wasn't a thing. The mental health that they dealt with was PTSD for, war heroes. So it was just a very different thing. I think we in the last couple generations have taken the stigma of mental health and really worked on making it more understandable and accessible to people. So I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the fact that you've been able to kind of come from that kind of foundation and then find positive ways to empower others. Again, I definitely jumped all over your social media with like, come on, you need to be part of this. You need to be part of this. As soon as I saw the human side of you, because as another instructor, I just think, oh my goodness, like she's amazing. And did she never have a bad day? Because I could go, up and down, up and down. And then when I heard like your testimony, I think it was just in a post, it wasn't like in the stories or anything. And then I had to sit and think about it. And it was just like, okay, there's something. I mean, I do Ironman. So for me, it's always about sports. That's on how you stay back into your space. But then you got to constantly clean this always. You got to clean it.
Yeah.
And when you don't want to clean that, you fall back into your routine. And if that routine's not there, forget it, game over. And so I know on how I operate, but more times than not, it's on grit. And so when I see people that are just living their best life, #life, like I love everything, AKU, I'm just like, what is she doing? Like, I need to know this. What is the secret to her sauce? Big compliment to you because I think so highly. I mean, everyone within like the strong family, I think is just phenomenal. And that when I heard that testimony from you, it humanized you. And then it was just, you start looking at different things a little bit different, which I think if it's taken in kind can be a very powerful thing to relate. So if somebody is struggling with their own mental health issues, whether it be anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, whatever the case may be, now they have a path less traveled, but it's not untraveled. So they can watch you and they can say, okay, this is what Eryn did. Maybe I can do something similar. Or she just inspired me to find my own. And so I just want to give you a big compliment. That is powerful for a lot of people, especially when they are kind of the top of their game, which I believe you're at the top of your game, and you have a lot of eyeballs and you have a lot of hearts that are with you. So I thank you for being able to be transparent with that part of it. And that has catapulted into being part of this international extravaganza. So, but, jumping back, taking a step back, how did you make that shift into, this is what you're dealing with? Yes, you found a lot of support within faith. You already have like the support network of the family. You have, more or less kind of healthy-ish lifestyle because you were in and out of sports. So you kind of have like a lot of the foundations, which are, eating healthy, support, like community, you have family, you have activity, physical activity, and then you also have a love for music, and then a higher being or higher power, which is like your faith. So what made you decide to go into shift into you wanting to teach like wellness?
Well, I think I've always had I've always known that there is a full body connection. Like you can't just work, or like you can't just focus on one side of the body or one element of the body. It has to be balanced. It has to be well-rounded. Right. So I think that that's just always been a part of what I've tried to focus on is, and not necessarily focus on, but just like be aware of. Right. So when I started instructing Zumba, and it was because I had such a huge dance background, and I was like, I can do this and then get paid to do it. Cause I'm just like, why am I paying to do this when I could just like, whatever. So, and it is like, Zumba is something where it does get you moving. It gets people up and it's fun. Right. And that has to be part of fitness. Fun has to be part of fitness. Now, what fun equates to with different people, it's going to be different, but it does have to somehow be fun. Now, It doesn't always mean that you have to be entertaining. It has to mean that they have to enjoy it. It has to be fun.
Correct.
So, and Zumba does that 1000%. Zumba does that for the majority of individuals.
Absolutely.
It's not everybody, but for the majority of people, it is like, yes, it is fun. It is enjoyable. So that was a really almost easy way for me to get involved in fitness and to go, yes, this serves the body, it serves the mind, right? It serves the spirit. It serves everything that needs to be served. And I loved it, but it wasn't, you're not done. If you're here, you're not done. Right. I said it in, Stacy was there on Saturday. I said it in the lab. If you're not dead, you're not done. If you're dead, then you're done, and you're not dead. So you're not done. So we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, so it's just like, if you're here, there is still opportunity for you to learn and grow. There is, you're not done yet. So keep going, keep working. But again, it's part of that balance of when do you push and when do you rest, and when do you do this and when do you do that. You can't have just one. You have to have a well-rounded. So I started with Zumba and then did the strong bit and was like, strong is insane and I love it, but you can't constantly be pushing. You do have to have some recovery as well. The body is built that way. The mind is built that way. The spirit is built that way. The earth is built that way. We have seasons where things grow and where things die so that they can continue to grow. Everything is created that way. We have seasons. So did strong and then built in yoga. So I have my 225 hour yoga cert, and
nice balance. Very good balance. Very good balance.
So and I love it. It's so beneficial after strong. And then, like I said, or like you had said, I have my personal training certification as well, because having that additional knowledge and being able to serve people better it makes me better in what I'm doing with fitness. And it's not the end. Like I will tell people during the Strong Nation trainings, always find another training to do. Even if you don't think you're going to teach the program, go to the training. I do not like cycle classes. I don't like passionately. And I'm incredibly grateful for cycle instructors, because that means I don't have to teach the cycle class. I'm like, if you like cycle, great for you, but I don't want to do it. I just don't like it. But I've taken cycle trainings because it's important for me to understand what's involved in that class. Because if somebody comes into my class from that class, comes into strong from a cycle class, I'm like, go home. I don't want to pick you up off the floor. So it's, it's just constantly having to, you have to have a well-rounded education, a well-rounded workout, a well-rounded diet. Everything is about balance. It just has to be.
Absolutely. So, I think it's important too, because, a lot of times, circling back to like mental health, right, and invisible wounds, I think as long as you can understand the mind-body connection, and with the mind, it's invisible, but the body is not. We can see this, we can, touch it. Everything is, in the open, right? And so a lot of people, they don't understand the connection with like, okay, if you have that discipline, right? So you fall into like those habits when motivation goes out the door for a lot of people. Not everyone.
Motivation is a lie, by the way. Motivation is just a lie. It's not real.
Absolutely. Not everyone can be motivated because it's not sustainable. And so the motivation is, especially if it comes from within, it's being able to fall into those defaults or into like that routine. So like for me, for example, it means every morning I'm doing some sort of physical activity. I have my high intensity days, I have my low intensity days, and then I actually consider stretching one of my activity days, because for me, it's a little bit of a more relaxed form of yoga. I'm like, I think this almost classifies as yoga. Not that I would teach it, but for me, that's important for me to stay in my body, to make sure that my mind is on point.
Like, we may not be able to see the wounds of like what we deal with mentally, but, and this is like my favorite illustration, is that we can't see the wind, but we can see the effects of the wind. And so you can't see your mental your mental health wounds, but you can see the effects of your mental health wounds, and you can see the effects of when you're starting to deteriorate with your depression or anxiety or whatever. And so we have to pay attention to those things. We have to pay attention to how our body is responding, how our behaviors are responding, to say, okay, there's something going on here, and I need to stop, and I need to listen to my body. And that is, I mean, one of the reasons why I love my yoga or my stretching class so much is because people don't like it. And I know people don't like it because they have to stop and think. And they're like, I don't want to actually deal with what's in my head.
Too many
like,
feels, too many feels. Let's do burpees instead.
Like, this is really uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm sure it is, but it's only going to get worse if you don't stop and listen to it. And it's not, it's about listening to your body, but it's about listening to like, just what is going on here, because there's stuff that you have to deal with here, and working yourself to just complete oblivion and constantly being busy. It's only gonna continue to stack up, and eventually that all has to fall over.
Absolutely.
So again, like, you cannot see your mental wounds, but you can see the effects of the mental wounds. And so we really need to pay attention to that. So, and then like in regards to motivation, I mean, it is a thing. It is definitely a thing, but relying on motivation is not like, it's not functional, because the motivation isn't what gets you started. Motivation isn't it's not the ignition.
It's an emotion. It's fleeting. Fleeting.
So your routine is your ignition, or knowing how you'll feel after is your fire, right? To say, well, this is how I'll feel after, or this is
being connected to your why, being connected to your why, because your why
you're
has to be stronger than any distraction. As long as your why is so strong, it doesn't matter what's coming at you, because you're staying in that lane. You got that tunnel vision. You're just like, nah, I got this. And
it can be in regards to fitness. It can be in regards to nutrition. It can be in regards to mental health. Like if you think about it in regards to fitness and your workouts, oftentimes people are just like, I just don't want to. And I'm like, I know that, but I also know that, like, anybody that's worked with me has heard me say it's probably like 50% of the workouts that I do, I actually want to do, but I've regretted 0. So my happiness, or my like accomplishment rate at the end of any training is always 100%. I'm always like, yes, I'm so glad I did that. I've never regretted a training session. When you look at nutrition and you are looking at whatever food you're going to eat, and you think, if I eat this well-balanced diet with my protein, my greens, my, everything here, I know how I'm going to feel after. I'm going to feel satiated, and I'm going to feel energized. I know if I drink X amount of water, I'm going to feel satiated. I'm going to feel energized. But if I sit down and eat a half a cheesecake, I know how I'm going to feel after that.
Right? It's temporary.
Looking at what the ramifications are. How do I want this to go? And I can't remember who said it. I think it was, I don't know. There was a speaker that talked about you look at where do you want to be in 5 steps? And so what are those 5 steps you have to take to get there? Right? Because it's never about the now. It's about the what are you wanting? What is the accomplishment that you're wanting? And what are the steps that you have to take to get there? So if you're wanting, but to have that mindset, but like, if I want to live a happy, healthy life, mentally, physically, whatever, this is mental health. Let's look mentally. If I'm feeling defeated and deflated right now, but I want to live in a way that is uplifting, I cannot watch crap that is going to make me feel empty and deflated. Right. I cannot spend my time, the majority of my time, with people that are going to make me feel empty and deflated. Right. I cannot read books that are going to do that. I cannot spend my mental space on those things. I need to find ways to lift my thoughts. Yeah. So, and this is what, I mean, to a fault, this is what I do, because I spend so much time living in darkness, and I can't do it anymore. And I have people in my life that deal with depression and anxiety, and I'm absolutely 100% there for them. But I will let them know, like, if you're going to continue in this, I am going to be that annoying person that is going to find the silver lining or the, well, at least. I will always do that. And if you can't handle that, then we need to limit the amount of time we spend together, because I've spent too much time there and I can't go back.
But that's healthy boundaries. That's healthy boundaries.
Exactly.
Because I think every single time, especially when we're talking about mental health, right? We always have to be able to check in with ourselves, always, because you're human. So even though I can put you on a pedestal and be like, man, like she's just crushing it with everything, you are still human. So it's just like, I can't serve you if I'm not taking care of myself.
Right.
And so being able to goosebumps because it's truth. And so, but
Well,
I
and
think
I
that
mean
it's
it.
just so important to also, as you touch on it, it's not just what you eat or the physical activity, but it's the, I'm not a fan of the news, but it's any kind of reading materials or any kind of TV or anything that you're consuming, anything that has access to. And
Anything.
even
Yeah.
with like the cheesecake or the cake, analogy or whatever, processed sugar and processed foods, they depress the system. It prevents you from being able to process some of your emotions, and it affects everything, because once you have the sugar, it suppresses your appetite. Once it suppresses your appetite and you're not eating, now you've just suppressed your emotions, you've depressed,
Lethargic, which
yeah,
only like continues to, yeah,
yeah,
it's
you've
a
depressed
whole
your
cycle.
system, and
Yep.
then you just created 3 more problems for yourself on
Yeah.
that temporary like
Yeah.
satisfaction that's just
Mm-hmm.
creating more harm for you.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I love that. So if somebody is kind of going through it, I think one of the important things for a lot of people is just to acknowledge. And so this is where I'm at today, and it's a tough day. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that there is a lot of power in positivity. I think
Oh yeah.
culturally we have a lot of discussions on what is toxic positivity and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that if you're using it in the right spirit and you're just
Right.
like, I'm having kind of a poopy day today.
Yeah,
And
I had a day last week. Now, again, generally when I'm dealing with things, so 4 kids, husband, like crazy life, right?
yeah,
Generally when I'm dealing with things, and 2 of them are teenagers. So let's just, there's some drama in
but
my
it's so
house.
much fun.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and I have to remind myself of that stupid Dumbledore quote all the time, because my teenagers will come home and I'm like, really. And my 14-year-old, I have to be like, I know that your friends suck right now, but you need to understand that no matter, she's like, can we just go to another school? I'm like, no, because they're teenagers, they're gonna suck wherever you go. Like, it's just what they do. They're all trying to figure out who they are, and but it's insanity.
Yeah.
But we laugh a lot. Like,
Mhm.
there are times to cry, but I would rather laugh than cry anytime. Because it's just like I want to find the joy. I just always want to find the joy.
That's the
So
soul
we
saying thank you. When you laugh, that's the soul saying thank you. It's the soul
because
saying like, good job, we're in the
yeah,
right place. This is where we're
I mean,
supposed to be.
when things are just insane and you're like, this is not something to laugh about, I will find probably some like inappropriate jokes. So, make sure that you're in the right company. But like, I'm going to find a way to make it funny. I'm going to find a way to make it lighthearted, because even going through the circus, like, we will get through it. I know we will get through it. I know, because historically I've seen, and I know who my creator is. I know the end of the story. I know what's going to happen. So like, I don't, probably a little unhealthily, I don't fear death, because I know what's waiting for me. So I'm like, okay. But I don't like, I just know. I know. And so I will find the happy and I will laugh about it. And sometimes my friend got me this because it's true. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. like everything's just going crazy. I'm like, it's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's not. But we joke about it and we're like, maybe it's not fine right now, but I will get through it, and I will survive, and I will thrive. And we see this in fitness all the time. You push harder than you think you can, and that's what makes you stronger, right? We do need to find the rest as well. And there are things that we need to say, yeah, it's too much. But we are capable of more than we think we are. And it's so interesting to me that when you look at fitness and we talk to people about their capabilities, and the fact that your mind will stop you before your body will.
100%.
Like, your mind wants the
100%.
easy way out. And you're like, no.
The body wants to be
the
body wants to be comfortable, because the mind is just like, this is too hard. Let's just sit down for a minute.
The mind is like, we're done, and the body can still go. So it's like, no. You have to keep going. You have to go through these things. And yes, they're hard, but you need to feel the hard things. And you can laugh at the hard things. You can laugh through the hard things, but you do have to go through the hard things. They will make you stronger. We don't want it that way, but it's true.
I'd like to take a moment to just honor a couple of different things that you had said. It's that everything is fine. And that is because once you tap into the universe, or once you tap into your higher power, then you realize that everything is a fleeting moment. and everything is going to pass. And my experience within the mental health space has been a lot of people, when they're stressed, they don't see the element of options. And so when they don't see the element of options, they think this is the only way. So like if you're around a lot of people that are, have this suicidal ideation, as an example, it's because they don't see another way out. It's not because they want to necessarily, but it's because they think that's the only option. Right. And so from that, I think that, you said it beautifully on how, it's fine, because that's almost like a mantra to say, these emotions are crazy. Like, we're good. We're just going to let you fly past.
It's not like it's not like a passive,
here.
like we're not going to, no. It's fine. It's fine. It's not like a pushing it down. It's like an acceptance of this is absolutely ridiculous, but I will get through it.
Exactly. And that's why it's kind of like being able to step back as a mantra and then like understand that we're not our emotions. Our emotions are giving us like indicators or telling us different things or messengers, but nothing is permanent. And so never make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. And we think that, and when we're overwhelmed, whether it's stress or whether it's anxiety or, sadness, whatever, and it seems like a lot and it could be a very big moment in that moment. But as long as you take that step back and you're just like, it's fine, that's actually quite powerful, because it's just like, nah, I'm going to keep my feet on the ground, my head in the clouds, and my heart is going to fly.
I'll get through it.
I'll just wait for everything to kind of pass. And so I think that's a beautiful like reminder, because I think, whether you want to put it in context of building your machine or cleaning the engine, I think everything is a process. It's not, this is clean, this is dirty. It's, we got to pay our rent every day.
You do. And it's something like, I think I had said this in I had a training yesterday, and we said it in the training yesterday, like we work on our form. And it's not like you get it and then it's done and you don't have to work on it again. No, it's something you have to work on every day. And that goes with fitness, that goes with nutrition, that goes with mental health. It's always something you have to be constantly aware of and taking a look at, okay, what am I putting into my body mentally, physically? What am I putting out of my body? Because what you put out of your body affects it as well. Right? Like and this was one of the things that is so true. If I'm feeling gross, if I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling down, the best way for me to feel like good again is to do something for somebody else, to take the focus off of me and to shift the focus to somebody else, and know that I may not feel it right now, but I can still do good things. I can still I can help somebody else feel better. And so it's not a self-focus anymore, and it shifts the negativity into a positivity and spreads that. So
it's almost that's almost karma, because it's just you're putting goodwill out into the world, and then the world says congratulations in terms of gratitude. So a lot of times when you're serving someone else, you might think that you're not very useful, and then all of a sudden you help somebody and they're like, thank you, oh my goodness, you just made my year. And you're
trying to do something selfless, and it's very selfish when you're like trying to shift it. And I love it. So one of the things that I do, we have a radio station in Minnesota that they would do the first Friday of every month. You would buy the coffee for the person behind you in the drive-thru, or buy the meal for the person behind you in the drive-thru, which I love, because I like doing secret acts of kindness. Because you're just like, I'm the only one that knows.
Yeah, absolutely. So best kept secret.
Yes, it's so like I'll buy the coffee of the person, and it doesn't have to be like, you can do it whenever you want, but this is what the radio station had done. And so if I'm not feeling good, I will buy the coffee for the person behind me and then like drive away, because they don't know I've done it yet. Right. So, but if they see me in front or they pull away fast enough, they can be like, and I'm like, no, I don't want you to know it with me. I just want to secretly do it because it's way more fun. So
I think that's a big cultural difference too. I lived in Asia for 11 years and I grew up in a Chinese and Italian household. So a lot of times with an Asian context, so in the Asian context, if you talk about it, it loses its meaning. So, if you're going to do something, do it because it's in your heart, not because of what it looks like in social media or whatever. So it's part of, I don't know, like in Malaysia, I know we got somebody watching in Malaysia. In Islam, it's one heart. So everyone has one heart, right? So everyone is all together. And when I was living in Indonesia, a lot of the times they would just be doing stuff as the norm and you weren't allowed to take any pictures. Like you just weren't. Like it was
Yeah.
so frowned upon. They were just like, no, that's not why we do this. And they'll lecture you and you're just like, spot check. I got it. And then
Yeah.
and we're like, but
Yeah.
this is just so cool. And here
But
you
it's
are
so
like,
cool.
doing different things. But I think like that is a very important part, in the US context, that we don't always have that awareness, because sometimes we're doing things and we might be doing it for the right reasons. And we might genuinely just want to share that in order to like, help other people or inspire other people to do it. But I think it's always important to check in with ourselves, be like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, and there's like an element of when you're doing something, like, fine. Like I don't necessarily always want to share that, because I do like the secret. Like I like being the only one that knows it. But when somebody
it's
else
like Christmas
is doing something,
morning, like excitement.
Yeah. But when somebody else is doing something nice, I want to catch them, like look at what they're, because then I get to share how awesome they are. Absolutely. So it's really fun when it's like, I've actually, I think somebody on Instagram posted something in their stories, and they like, behind my back complimented me, and like they didn't tag me in it, and I don't think that their intention was for me to see it, but I saw it and I was like, oh, you're talking about me behind my back. But it's things like that where you're like, that's what we should do. We should be encouraging people, whether we're in their face or not, like speaking highly of people. And if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. But finding, and it can go towards people or just situations. Absolutely. But we need so much more of that. We need so much more of, but like I said, this is what I do: finding the silver lining, finding the, well, at least finding the positive element of it. Yes, we need to accept whatever negativity happened, whatever ish happened, but like, okay, that happened, but
what are you going to do about it? How are you going to turn it into something positive?
I dropped like a liter of water today. I thought my lid was on it and I dropped it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. Well, at least it was just water. At least like I was still wet from, we were at the pool. So I was like, well, at least I'm still wet. At least we had a towel. Like, okay, well, it wasn't that bad. It was just a water. But it's one of those things where it's like bad stuff happens all the time. But without bad stuff happening, I mean, even with bad stuff happening, we can still find the positive of it. We globally have had to deal with COVID this year, which, talk about mental health issues. Like there have been so many that have just been like, oh my gosh, with COVID happening. But if COVID hadn't happened, I don't know that half the people that are in my life right now would be in my life right now.
Absolutely. There's so many blessings for everything. I think, when we can't go out, we have to go in. So on so many different levels, it's forcing us to kind of stop and pause. And I don't believe in good and bad situations. I believe everything is an opportunity to learn or to pause. And it's like, it's funny because when you're talking about, dropping the water, the last time that I just busted into laughter I was in one of the houses. It was just before pandemic, and there was a mouse that showed up in the house, and I named him Oscar. And it was just like, this is like the smartest mouse, like Ratatouille or something. Like, I don't know, because he was able to take the chocolate pieces and the peanut butter and everything, but we couldn't catch him. And so I was like walking around the house. I'm like, yo, Oscar. I was like, we want to relocate you. You're not paying rent. You got to go. Like, I'm sorry. You can't get all these free meals. And then when I stopped back and just had that moment of joy with a rat, a house mouse. I mean, talk about like insanity, right? And here I am having a moment. It was actually, to me, it was a manifestation of my grandfather. So my grandfather is one of my guardian angels. And so I was going through some stuff and I needed a break. And I didn't realize I needed a break because I was teaching 16 fitness classes a week. And so that was like my grandfather being like, yo, let's like evaluate what we're doing right now.
We need a little bit of
distraction. Yeah. And so it was just enough time to, let me step out of my routine and then see, okay, what was happening. And I just kind of like laughed. And whether it's water or a mouse, I think all these moments, they can be devastating. Like, oh my goodness, I have an infestation. No, you don't. You have an angel trying to talk to you.
Well, yeah. And it was, I mean, it's just, like anything like that, you can find a positive for it. I think, and when your kids are watching too, or when people around you are watching and they're like, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle this situation? And it was there was an instance where I had a big, huge jug of apple juice and my son had hiccups. And so I was trying to scare him to get the hiccups away because fun.
Yeah.
But I took the juice and I like went to like pretend like I was going to throw the juice at him, not the jug of juice, but the juice was going to come out. Well, whoever put the juice back in the fridge didn't put the lid all the way back on. And it did actually all the way across the kitchen. And I'm pretty sure all of the kids were there. And they all just went, because how is mom going to respond to this? Now there is juice everywhere in the living room or in the kitchen. And like, funny. This could be catastrophic. And I just lost it laughing because it was like, really?
That's funny.
Like, that wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. And we will probably never forget this moment because it was when mom threw juice across the kitchen.
That's like, funny. That's funny. Well, these are all bonding moments. These are all bonding moments.
Yes,
I think that are like
exactly.
super duper important.
You know? Yes, we had to clean up the kitchen. Like we had to clean up the kitchen. So yes, that was annoying, but it was an opportunity where I got to show the kids like things happen and you can just self-destruct and it can be the end of the world, or you can laugh about it, clean up and move on.
Like 10% what really happens, 90% how you respond to it.
You really do have a choice with whatever happens. I didn't make the choice to actually throw the juice. I wanted to pretend to throw the juice, but somebody else had a different thought in mind. And so now I have to deal with, I had to make a choice as to how I was going to handle the results of that. Like we don't always get to make a choice about what happens to us, but like you said, we do get to make a choice about how we respond to what happens.
I think framing situations are so important because that gives us permission on how we're going to allow things into our space. So if you approach things with kind of a sunny disposition and with that level of curiosity and just pure joy, it makes it easier to manage. So if you would have entered that with, oh my goodness, like we got so many different things, like come on, let's like be efficient and let's like, get rid of these like hiccups or whatever, that would have been a stressful situation. But since it was just like, oh well, okay, guess we're gonna lay on the floor too, extra workout.
I think we were like, well, are your hiccups gone? Like
I think that's very important.
I don't remember if they were, but like it was just, it's one of those things where we have to decide. And yes, there are frustrating moments, but and I'll try to tell the kids that too. Does that mean that you respond laughing every time something happens? No, sometimes you need to get angry, you need to cry, you need to yell. But we have to we want to find ways to constructively deal with that. And I'll tell my kids too, like if you're angry with me or you're angry with your siblings, I'm giving you permission to yell at me for a bit. Just scream. Like I'm creating a space for you. Yes, sometimes you need to just, if you need to just cry, okay? We've got, because strong, we have punching pads. So we're like, you need to, like, you can't hit your sibling. You can hit the punching pads. Okay. So like, let's find ways to get this out. And it's never, we don't ever try to, you don't go to your room as a timeout. You go to a space that's safe so that you can decompress. It's not go to your room for a timeout. It's like you need some time and that's okay. So why don't you go take some time and when you're ready, if you want to talk, we're here to talk to you about it. But it's just, again, it's that whole creating a space for them and for everybody to just process. And I think some of it too is like when people start like snipping and you're like, okay, what's going on? Because this is not you.
Sometimes people get like offended, but it's because they don't have that awareness and they're just like, oh, well, you're right. Let me check in with myself.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank you.
As your friend, I'm concerned about you because you're not behaving how you would normally behave. And I need you to know that I'm here if you need to talk. I'm here to listen or I'm here to talk. And if you want me to respond, I will. And if you don't, I won't, but you need to tell me.
I think like in context of that, because I was actually going to ask about being strong. So like actual like physical strength and stuff. So the first thing is I feel a lot of times with mental health, sometimes people don't always want to break their silence because when you break your silence, it's almost giving other people a permission to unfairly judge you. or tell you what you should be doing rather than asking you how you are doing. Because I feel a lot of being able to move through things is having that conversation, which you're able to do so beautifully. What do you need? Or, you need time to check in with yourself. And not everyone is as fortunate for that. It's like, why are you so angry? Why are you being, rude? Or why are you doing this? Why are you attaching emotions when I don't even know what's going on right now? So, I mean, and this can happen with whether it's like teenagers or even adults. There's a lot of adults that don't have that emotional literature or that emotional knowledge of how to have these conversations. And so I think, that's like on one side that kind of is a barrier of entry for a lot of people, which I appreciate you sharing, on how you guys handle it, because this can give a roadmap to other people. And then the second thing that I think is very important to kind of highlight is strong people, strong spirited people and strong-willed people, they always have their moments. Like they always have their moments. When you are the go-to person for that sunny disposition, when you are the go-to for that silver lining, when you are the go-to for that strength, and that one time that you need strong, like that one time where you're just like, I can't do it. Like, I know I can, but I can't do it. And you have that negotiation between your head and your heart. And that has been one of my hardest things, because similar to you, I grew up being that go-to person for everybody. And when my world fell apart, it took everything out of me, everything to try to figure out, am I really strong enough to do this? I'm like, oh, okay, let's get it done. And what, in that context for you, how were you able, is that when you just really leaned into faith? Because I mean, you've already referenced that, but in terms of like the physical world, was there anybody that was able to kind of, have your back in that moment, or was it purely just faith?
I mean, I have people that I go to, and I had last week was a rough week, and we hold it together as best we can.
But you're human still, so you still have those moments. You're just like,
and it can be hard when you try to rely on people, because they will always disappoint you. And I don't mean that in like a bad way, but we are all human. We are all flawed. And somehow it can be like, I usually have good weeks. I usually have good days. I'm usually okay to measure everything and go, okay, well, that's, this was sucky, but here's what, and whatever. But sometimes you just can't. And it seems to be that when I'm like, I just can't, sometimes my people are like, yeah, me either. And I'm like, dude, I needed you to step up in that moment. I have been dragging you along for months.
Just asking for 5 seconds. Just asking for 5 seconds. That was it.
I just needed you for 5 minutes. Yeah, something. You're like, fine. Yeah. So, I do have some people that I will just go to, and having the ability to say I am not doing well, and having somebody to go to say I'm not doing well. Here's why. I'm angry right now. I'm gonna be angry for a little bit. I will get over it, but I want you to know I'm not mad at you, but I'm just gonna yell at you for a little bit. Right? So it's hard. Being the strong person is hard, because they'll always rely on you, which is great, but like they need to be self-sufficient. And so you kind of have to get to a point where like, I can't carry you. I would love to be able to continue to carry you, but I have carried you for a very long time. And I'm tired, and I have stuff of my own as well. And I'm not asking you to carry my stuff, but I do need somebody to just like be here. And so it gets really hard. But I do have some people that I just yell at, but I tell them I'm yelling at them, not because of them.
I think it's super powerful, because like for me, I have like, I need 3 minutes of just unconscious verbal vomit. You got space. Yeah. And then they're empowered because they get to say yes or no. And then they know, okay, we're capturing all this stuff right now.
What's great
I'll call you back later.
I love, so Marco Polo is an app where it's like a video message. Someone was like, it's like Snapchat. I'm like, yeah, but Marco Polo doesn't like cut you off after however long, like you can just keep going. And so I will send a message to one of my friends, and I'm like, just, this is a rant. You can just skip it or you can watch it. It's up to you, but I need to talk to somebody. And so I'm just going to lay this out here, and you have the choice to move past it or to listen to it. And if you listen to it, thank you very much. But if you don't, I'm not going to be offended either, because again, like sometimes
it just happens.
So I
I
try
love
not
that.
to like, I mean, I love my job. So I'm very, 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 very blessed in the fact that I love my job. And we like, we've gone through some crazy stuff in our life. And so I don't ask why anymore because I don't need to know why. I will
Trust
eventually
it.
at some point know why, but I
Trust
don't need
it.
to know why right now. The
Yeah.
question that I ask now is, what am I supposed to learn from this?
Yeah.
Because there's something that you can learn
Yeah.
always, right? We've already
Absolutely.
talked about this,
Yeah.
but that is the question that I ask now, not why,
I
but
love it.
okay, well, while I'm
Yeah.
in this season, because it will not last,
Yeah.
what am I meant to learn from this?
Absolutely. I think it's more empowering too, because when you just say why, you can kind of victimize yourself.
Yes,
And when you say,
yes,
what am I supposed to learn? It's more of an active way of embracing a situation, being like,
mm-hmm.
all right, I'm here, game on, challenge accepted. What do you
Yeah,
got for me?
yeah. I'm
It's
not
game
going to let
time.
it defeat. Yeah, I am not going to
Yeah,
let
it's just
whatever this
different.
is win, because
Yeah,
I get to choose. I get to
absolutely.
choose again how I'm going to respond in this situation,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
I refuse to just lay back and take it.
Absolutely. I mean, I just think that you're such a bright light and such like a beautiful, soul. And I can't thank you enough for giving me and the greater community an hour of your time to just kind of talk about all of this, because depression affects like millions of people like on an annual basis. Anxiety is even more to combined. I mean, it's incredible on how many people don't know those stop gates, or don't know how to
Yeah,
check in with themselves, or don't have that community, or don't have those. I think psychology calls it sublimation, turning a negative society type situation and make it into a positive.
mm-hmm.
For me, I didn't go to faith. I mean, yes, I think I have guardian angels, don't judge. But for me, growing up, it was sports. So you take it out on the track. I mean, I
Yeah,
remember, my father used to pick fights with me because he's just like teaching me how to channel anger. And
yeah,
so it was just, that's what got you literally across the finish line. And then when you apply it to life, you're just like, oh, okay, emotions are fuel. So that's part of my dysfunction. I'm like, this isn't real. Like, this is just a fuel. How can I use this?
Well, and
And
I love like that the line from Legally Blonde, like exercise gives you endorphins make you happy, and happy people just
people
don't
just,
kill their husbands. I mean, like it's
truth,
always, or
truth.
their neighbor or whoever,
Absolutely.
whatever. And
Absolutely.
and I think that fitness gives you, like we talked about it a little bit. If you
Yeah.
have a healthy baseline,
Yeah.
and getting into fitness can be really, really good for you. And this is one of the reasons I love Strong, because of all of the martial arts components to it. You can give them such great motivation to fight the negativity within
Absolutely.
themselves.
Yeah. It's a
Like if
warrior. It's a
you're,
warrior journey.
yeah, if you're punching, and I used to say this when I was teaching in person, like if you're punching and you have a mirror in class, the person that you're looking at in the mirror, which is usually themselves,
Yeah.
is the person that told you shouldn't go to this class today. You
100%.
shouldn't, like, it's not worth it. It's not going to
Absolutely.
change you. It's not going to be better. Like, why are you even wasting your time here?
Absolutely.
She or he is the one that is full of the lies, and you can
Absolutely.
kick their butt. Like,
Absolutely.
don't believe them. You have the power to say you were wrong and this class is awesome. So
Absolutely.
anytime we would do like uppercuts or whatever, I was like,
Yeah.
take them out, just
Yeah.
take them out, take out that
Absolutely.
liar, because
Absolutely.
we have so much. We are our own worst critic.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Silencing all those different things. I mean, it could be the devil and the angel, or it just could be, we're lopsided today. And they're both,
yeah,
feeding the wrong thing.
yeah.
So, okay. So I know that, everyone is like super duper busy. So where can people find you? And
Sure.
where do you hang out the most on all social medias?
Instagram is my favorite
Okay.
because I like pretty pictures.
Mhm.
But I am not. If I didn't have to do social media, I probably wouldn't. So,
Okay. Well, people can always find you kind of hanging out. If they want to get
but
your
yeah, I'm
attention,
usually
they
like,
can find you on
yep, I'm
Instagram.
usually on
Cool.
Instagram.
Cool.
I like peek into Facebook every once in a while, but usually I'm Instagram.
Cool.
And then my website, erynsfit.com. My Instagram is Stennes. So first initial, last name, Stennes. And then, my website, Eryn S Fit. It's not Eryn's Fit. It's my first name and my last initial. I was like, I'm not bragging. I
I
didn't
think
think
that's
about it
really
until
funny.
after. And then I was like, oh, shoot. Well, too late now.
Well, I mean, if
So,
anything, it's all, hashtag fit fam. Everybody gets it.
exactly.
Everyone's just empowering everybody. And so if people want to work with you, or if people want to get into your diary, what are the easiest ways? Obviously, because you're still teaching classes.
Mhm.
So what are the main classes that you're kind of focusing on, or kind of like, what is your schedule? Do you do personal
Yeah.
coaching? Like, how can
Yeah.
people spend time with you?
You can call me. No, no, my schedule is on my website. So that is probably the easiest way to book. If you
Cool.
want any of the classes, or if you want any personal training, that you can book on the website.
Cool.
So yeah, that's the best way to do that.
Cool. And then I guess the last thing, if there is one mantra on a personal basis that got you through every kind of storm, what would it be?
I
Or
was talking.
even if it's not a mantra, what is one thing that kind of kept you grounded?
Yes, you can.
Ooh, I like that. Simple.
It's like the first thing you see on my website too.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes, you can. I remember being in a class, and like I'm not the first person to say it, obviously, but I remember being in a class and thinking, oh my gosh, this sucks. This is so hard. I'm just gonna stop. Again, the mind being like, no, you need to stop now. And the instructor, as I'm thinking that, like I finished that thought, and she says, yes, you can. And I was like, how the frick did you know that's what I was thinking right now?
She heard
And
it.
she did. But it honestly, it motivates me so much, because there are so many times, yes, there are so many times where I'm like, I can't. And people feel that all the time. I can't, but you can. You can. Yes, you can. And I just like, I am that person. When I encounter a challenge, I will tuck my chin and I will drive through it. I will not allow myself to get distracted. And so tuck my chin, drive through, and just know, yes, I can do this. I can get through this challenge. I can overcome this. I can climb this mountain. I can. Yes, I can. So I like to tell the people that are with me, yes, you can. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
I love that on so many different levels. One, because it's personal to you, and being able to share that intimate part of you with all the people that you serve is just next level magic. So congratulations for that. Because I mean, there's a lot of people that will just be sitting to find out what is like the most trending thing to say, or, whatever. And what it is. But I find that a lot of times when it has that personal kind of connection to it, this is why people are successful. It's like, okay, this is on how you apply it. This is why you apply it. And I also think that it's super enlightening, because you are an embodiment of just this lighthearted, yes, we get our stuff done, but we're going to enjoy the ride. And so as you share on how you experience your community versus on how you experience yourself, I think is a beautiful balance, because it's just like chin down, focus, like, let's get it done. Tighten that ponytail. Let's do it.
Yeah.
But you
and I don't say it like,
but you have that grace where you're not expecting that same thing from other people. So it's like, I find that's a beautiful thing. Yes, you might hold yourself to higher standards, but at the same time, that's what's good for you.
Yeah, that's just it. Like, my journey is not everybody's journey, and we have to allow that space for that. And I don't say it, yes, you can, in every class that I do. I don't say it all the time, because it loses its power, right? Like, if I'm constantly saying it, it will lose its power. And that's, I think, part of too, like, I will share my my mental health journey. I'm happy to share it, but I'm not going to constantly be speaking about it. I don't post it in every post, because again, like, living in that that space doesn't allow me to continue to move forward. Again, I'm happy to share it. I'm happy to share it, but it's still part of me, but it's not my whole. So
I love that. So another compliment to you. I love on how no matter what, people can be kind of dealing with different things. And so to kind of like summarize, being able to understand that emotions are fleeting and a lot of times they're lying to us. So being able to keep our feet on the ground and let things pass, being able to say, yes, we can, no matter what. Sometimes we got to keep our chin down, and sometimes we got to find the joy and just, be like, positive about something. Hi.
Christy, it's Christy.
Hi, Christy.
Another trainer.
Hi.
Sorry, you're in my ears, so she can't hear you. But
Big hugs from Chicago. I know we're doing
from Chicago.
Oh, thank you. Big hugs.
we're doing a mental health awareness extravaganza, and this is just level gratitude.
I was like, you probably want to see her, so she can just pop in here real quick.
Absolutely. I'm just like fangirl moment. I was like, what? Like, Jess, you're filming. Stop. Like, no, freak out. So, Eryn, thank you so much. I will post all of this is live. So we had so many people joining in, which so incredibly grateful. I am going to go ahead and post this on YouTube hopefully within the next 1 or 2 days. And then it'll have all your contact details. And again, just thank you so much for being so open and reminding us that whatever you've been through, it doesn't need to define you. It can be part of you, but it doesn't have to be a big part of you. So thank you for just being an embodiment of love and light and joy and what can be.
Yeah. And you guys, thank you for joining. If you guys joined here, Celeste, Stacey Ann, Christelle, Ali, thank you guys so much. It means a lot. The support is fantastic, you guys. Hashtag fit fam.
Stronger together, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And we will definitely catch you soon.